Agility is everything in today's fast-moving business environment. Competitors are constantly turning on a dime, and you have to too. And actually, 2/3 of the Inc. magazine 500 list can actually go from idea to market in as little as 1 month now. And even global giants that we consult with suddenly have teams introducing new apps every 6 weeks for less than $25,000 a piece. So if you think about it, you got to be able to turn on a dime. So let me share a little trade secret that's useful to know if you want to succeed in competitive environments like you're finding in the modern marketplace today. And that is that innovation isn't about having more money, more manpower, or cutting-edge solutions. It's really about being more resourceful, more adaptable, more resilient in the end, because the more flexible and relentlessly committed to addressing customers' needs you are, the more you're going to successfully be able to surf the waves of change that are headed your way instead of letting them simply crash over your head and carry you with them instead. So just to give you an example, you've got a country like Kenya. Over 90% of their population has no formal health or health care insurance. You've got one organization that manages care for 2/3 of these people and 40 individual insurance companies that are competing for the other million. So how exactly does anybody play in this kind of fast-moving, challenging market? And the answer is, of course, not using traditional strategies. So instead what you find are providers are cleverly turning to delivering cost-effective care via mobile phones and payments, which are actually accessible by 9 in 10 individuals in Kenya instead. So here, business strategies, they're not going to revolve around networks of brokers or all-purpose packages like you might find where we are in the United States. Instead, you're going to find they're revolving around digital transaction platforms where you've got healthcare which can be purchased in small, cost-affordable slices on demand, and shoppers are actually only going to pay for the amount of services in healthcare that they use. So using mobile phones, using prepaid cards, even using unused rollover minutes, you can find that users in Kenya can now actually call or video conference with their doctors, and they can actually pay by the call. They can receive medical vouchers in completely paperless form. They can prepay for contract pricing packages like you almost would for a mobile phone package, and they can actually file and settle claims on their mobile devices. So in short, providers don't try to superimpose pre-existing strategies on these new and emerging markets. They actually offer novel solutions that are specifically tailored for this territory, and of course they're specifically tailored and customized to highly differentiated user segments. And what you're finding is that similarly inventive approaches are also being applied to Western nations with large but rapidly changing marketplaces too. So again, agility and speed, big piece of this. I mean, here in America, you've got national drugstore chain Walgreens. You may recognize them at the corner of happy and healthy, they say. They were facing a pretty challenging market, right? They had this public dispute with a prescription partner. Customers were tightening up on spending, tightening their belts, and of course there was growing competition in the marketplace from CVS and others, and it was causing their prescription counts to fall. So the company wasn't making as much money, but what it did, it didn't bump up ad spending. Instead what it did was reinvent its approach to customer care entirely. So this is super neat. Some strategies that Walgreens used, right? One would be bringing pharmacists out from behind the counter to provide more clinical and counseling services. Another thing they did was building an online find a pharmacist tool so they could match customer needs with pharmacist expertise, clinical backgrounds, native languages. Maybe you're a Spanish speaker. They would match you with a Spanish speaker in your neighborhood at a store that you could find. They created a pill reminder app. It was a mobile app with prescription refill and transfer abilities. And they built these things called API middleware tools, basically back-end software stuff, that let third-party developers create all sorts of new ways for patients to order refills and interact with its 8,000 plus pharmacies. So really a novel way to approach a familiar problem. And of course you have medical device leaders like Medtronic. You know, these guys, when they wanted to expand their already successful business throughout Western Europe and beyond, not even playing in an emerging nation, Medtronic didn't double down on cutting-edge devices. It actually reinvented its business model instead. So all it did was expand its offerings to include services as well as products and establish new business units that partnered to put owned and operated labs inside hospitals. So not only have companies like Medtronic increased business, provided partners with significant improvements in customer service and cost savings, you know, having earned their trust, it's also been able to find ways to build a successful business and sizable business around ancillary services like supply chain management, IT, performance benchmarking, and all sorts of companies are doing similar. So really, as you can see, when you're a little bit more flexible, a little bit more agile about your approaches to innovation, you can be every bit as effective as if you had invested in very extensive and very impressive or high-performance solutions. You know, simple tweaks can make a big difference.